So in little over a decade, I went from being a science professor to being a program manager at an international organization, to being a CEO, and now I'm a politician. And a camera-shy politician with stage fright. So please forgive me if I trip over my words. I'm often asked, so today I will talk about what it means to plan one's life, what it means to have a sense of direction for one's life. I'm often asked by 18-year-olds who are applying to college to give them some guidance, and usually I find that they think of life as one straight road ahead, and that where they end up is solely determined by what they choose to study and where. Usually life is full of twists and turns, and I'm reminded of an event I helped organize long ago when I was in graduate school, and we asked all of our professors to share with us about their life, how they ended up where they did. And we spent an evening hearing about former careers as football players, as lawyers, and came to realize that none of our professors, when they were our age, had any idea about where they were going to end up being. So what does it mean to make a plan, to plan one's life? Usually when we think about planning, we think of a way to get from here to there, to somewhere we're trying to go. And we try to find a number of steps to go along. We figure out how to go along each step and how much time it might take, and we come up with a detailed plan. But life usually doesn't quite work out that way. We face forces that are much stronger than us, from geopolitical to money concerns, to family politics, to health issues, to our own changing passions and interests. So I grew up in two cultures. In Nepal, where my father is from, we tend to not focus too much on detailed planning most of the time. We tend to be quite okay with things not quite being on time. Even the program today, we're all still happy. Have you ever seen a road that is completed on time, a house construction project that's finished on time? We tend to treat planning almost the way a typical village wedding takes place, where the night before the wedding, nothing is ready. Then the whole village comes together overnight, and in the morning, the food is magically cooked, everything is decorated, and everyone has a great day. In fact, that even happens at the national level. Remember when Nepal was hosting the SARC meeting? And Tinkune, overnight, transformed into a beautiful park full of potted flowers, a pond lined with plastic sheets, filled with tankers of water. Of course, a few weeks later, it was a pile of dirt again. Or when the Chinese president was visiting here more recently, and he had to cross bridges across our dirty, smelly rivers. Remember what happened? The bridge railings were lined with flex posters showing off beautiful destinations within Nepal. We're very happy to take care of things on short run. We're very used to our bayaltsani attitude. But sometimes bayaltsani might take us too far. I'd like to express my condolences to the families of all the passengers who passed away in Pokhara on Sunday in the air crash, including my former colleague, Yuvraj Sharma. But also, I want to alert that the culture of risk-taking was what already killed the owner of the airline a few years ago in a helicopter crash. When he took an overloaded helicopter, a 6-seater capacity helicopter with 7 people, to an unplanned stop in Patibara Peak, where it started to snow, and they took off with the helicopter blades full of snow on them and had no lift. Bayaltsani doesn't always help. And we see that time and again on our highways, where badly maintained vehicles on badly maintained roads kill far too many people each year. Maybe we do need to learn to plan a bit better. The other half of my family, where my mother is from Switzerland, a country that has been known over centuries for its clockmaking, watchmaking, and for having very detailed plans, where the trains depart exactly when the second hand reaches the top of the clock. And I remember once I was running to catch a local bus. I reached 2 seconds late. The driver slammed the door shut right in front of me. I knocked on the door, and the driver went like this and drove off without me. I had to wait exactly 9 minutes and 55 seconds and take the next bus. Switzerland has this appearance of everything being neat and clean and predictable and organized. I've gone bicycling with my friends, racing down a mountain road, and they go around curves at speeds I don't feel comfortable going, but they're fully confident that there will never be a vehicle coming in the opposite direction in the wrong lane. It's also a place where if you live in an apartment building, after 10 at night you're not allowed to wash dishes or take a shower because the noise might wake up your neighbors. It means you can go to sleep at 10, being fully confident that you can plan to get a good night's sleep. There's no bhajans, no late night parties, not even barking dogs. Everything's extremely predictable. But then again, sometimes I wonder if this planning culture in Switzerland actually also was the cause of a large accident. On September 2nd, 1998, Swissair Flight 111 from New York to Geneva had an electrical fire off the coast of Canada. And instead of going straight into the nearest airport, Halifax in Canada, for an emergency landing, an overweight emergency landing with too much fuel, the pilot started circling around, dumping fuel, going through his checklist, asking the cabin crew to prepare the cabin for a safe landing, and the fire spread, disabled the plane, and it crashed. We're not sure if it would have made it in for a tire-bursting emergency landing if it had gone straight in, but what was known afterwards was that Swissair's 120-plus point fire of unknown origin checklist was so long, it would have taken the captain half an hour to go through the whole checklist, and by then it would have been too late. So being too planned might also not always work out for the better. I'm reminded of another story that my grandmother in Switzerland told me, of this mother who wanted to take her 3 kids for a hike. And it was a short afternoon hike, but she packed rain ponchos in case it rained. She packed extra warm clothing, extra food, extra water. What if they get stranded overnight? A tent, sleeping bags. And when they finally set off with their overly heavy backpacks, she suddenly realized that maybe one of the kids might fall. So she got this mountaineering rope and tied all the kids together the way mountaineers tie themselves together. And just as they started hiking, she stepped on a piece of cow dung, slipped and fell down. And because all the kids were tied together, all 4 of them fell down the slope. She had forgotten to plan about the cow dung. Our plans are only as good as whatever they can take into account of. And even the best plans fall apart when changes are too rapid, too big, or unknowns happen. Or very unexpected things happen. I remember when I was living in the US, there was a very large storm once, and so many trees fell over and brought down power lines, we had no electricity for a week. Traffic was complete chaos because people did not know how to go through intersections without any stoplights. The shops emptied out because people were panic buying, and there was no water in the taps. The pressure pumps were not working. Why would anyone have rooftop tanks if there's an expectation of having electricity and water 24/7? Here in Nepal, we're very used to things not going right. If the power goes out, many of us probably still have an inverter from load shedding time. And if the battery for that runs out, there's probably a Chinese emergency light somewhere in the house. And when that goes out, I'm sure there must be some candle somewhere in the house. We have overhead water tanks and probably also underground water tanks. We're so used to something not working out, to go from plan A to plan B, to plan C, or maybe D, E, F. I'm reminded a few weeks back, I was driving back from Bharatpur to Kathmandu, and just as I got too near Mugling, there was a really bad traffic jam. I spent 40 minutes waiting, barely moving forward. Decided that was going to take too long, did a U-turn, down to Bharatpur, over to Hetaura, up towards Kulekhani, and the road via Fakhel was also closed for construction. So I went down to Sisneri, over to Dachinkali, and got to my meeting only 2 hours late. So in short-term planning like this, it is very easy to, as long as we do what's called contingency planning. And we do that all the time. Something doesn't work out, we immediately do something else. I was actually supposed to be the first speaker after lunch. It worked out okay. He had to go to his program. But what about longer-term planning about one's life? I know some of my friends spend years going through life just meandering around without really having a sense of where they're wanting to go, maybe without a plan. But for some of us, we would like to know which way we're going. I guess if you look at my life over the last 6 months, you might wonder if I have a plan or had a plan. So I decided to jump into politics because I felt like that was the best way to make a difference. Ended up joining a new party, contracting COVID, giving up my candidacy, and now 2 women, my campaign manager and the person I handed over the constituency to, both are in parliament. I'm very happy, but if you ask me what I'm going to be doing in the next weeks or months, I don't know, but I'm not worried. Sometimes, for me, the way I think about life is more like being a boat on a big open water. The wind or the waves might blow me right or left, but as long as I'm clear about the point I'm going to on the other side, I have somewhere to steer to. I have a direction I'm trying to head to, and I might be like moving this way, but then I turn myself to where I'm going, or this way. Sorry, I'm off the red carpet here. But, and so what is that for me? What gives me directions? Even as a child, when I first heard the story from Bhanubhakta and the Ghasikua, that really inspired me. This question of what is it that you leave behind that people will remember you by when you're not here anymore? And for me, very much that has to do with what am I doing for Nepal, for improving things here in Nepal. And why Nepal, you might ask? I have a Swiss mom. I spent a lot of time in the US. I grew up, I've lived in Thailand. But when I'm elsewhere, I miss Nepal. When I'm here, I don't miss other places. I care about Nepal the most. And what is Nepal to me? It is not Mount Everest. It is not Buddha's birthplace. It is these snippets of memories I carry with me when I'm outside of Nepal that make me homesick. It is riding in a Bikram tempo years back, and another passenger discovering something funny on the windshield of the car behind us, and all 10 of us burst out into this spontaneous, contagious laughter. Or during COVID lockdowns, there were dozens of people feeding the monkeys in Swayambhu every day because they were deprived of their usual puja offering food. Or when I was in grade 6, hiking with my dad from Charikot down to Sinduli and staying overnight in Kurkot, and spending half a night hearing our host talk about how a flood had passed through, taken his house out, and he lost 7 members of his family. Or hiking up from Fedi to Dampus, crossing the ridge and being greeted with this view. For me, a lot of my choices have to do with how I can most effectively take Nepal forward. And that is also how I ended up going into politics. the way Nepal has been managed and governed in the last several decades, that cannot keep going. We export our youth who go build other countries' infrastructure. We use the remittance from that to buy our daily needs. Families are separated. That's not how to build a future for the country. So I would like to advance this vision for a new Nepal, a radical reframing of Nepal led by a new generation, a Nepal that gives opportunities and jobs to everyone within the country, a Nepal that doesn't leave anyone behind, a Nepal with affordable, high-quality education and healthcare for all, with good infrastructure, with a vibrant private sector. It's a vision of Nepal that I would like to advance. It's creating plans to turn such a vision into reality. That's what drives my passion. Thank you very much.